Hopefully you can hear me. Hello. Hello, everyone. Lime Specs, hello. Can you hear me? Like the vote's not happened yet. No. Check. You can hear me. There's 8 people watching already. Neptune. Hello, Neptune. How are you? Chocker Trucker 1. Hello. And just you 3 so far in chat. Welcome, all of you. I hope you're doing all right. I just ask, can you hear me? Oh, sometimes I have problems with sound. Hi, Pat Riot. Welcome. Did I see you on Calamity's live stream? I think, yeah, I recognise your name. You were on Calamity's live stream, weren't you? Thanks, Lime Specs. Hello, everyone. How are you? I feel bloody awful. I've been watching Parliament. Thanks, Neptune. Thank you. Welcome, Pat. It's good to. Thanks for coming over here. I feel bloody horrible. I've been watching Parliament all afternoon, and it's depressing at the best of times. It's really downheartening at the moment. It really is. It's bloody horrible. I'm watching the. I got the news stream open. There's a vote. There's a debate. There's an emergency debate going on at the moment. Hello, Zephyrin. Good evening. There's an emergency debate going on at the moment, which I will cover. I might need to take a break. This is maybe a 2-part live stream. I don't know if you can hang on with me if I maybe take half an hour off and then come back. Hello, Mark Crane. Welcome. If I take like half an hour off, get something to eat, then come back and do a part 2 live stream. It's just, it turns out that the results of this emergency debate, which luckily I don't have to watch because I got the excuse of doing this live stream. I got. Funny, if you don't have to watch this shit, you really don't. You don't have to poison your ears and your brain. You can just go to the BBC. For all their faults, they do have like a live commentary, which is just simply it's just a list of tweets and little bulletins and things like that. Just a list of bulletins and things. So you can just watch that instead, and it's much easier. It's much easier. Hello, DJ B2. Welcome. No, I'm not going to stream for 3 hours straight. But what I might do, I didn't realise the vote was going to be at 10 when I first decided I'd do another vote and a live stream at 7. I said before I wanted to start doing live streams earlier, but what I'll do, Lime Specs, is maybe I should start it later. I don't know. What I'll do is I will stop for maybe half an hour to an hour and then start again. So this would be like a 2-part live stream. A 2-part live stream to this evening. So I hope I won't bore you, and you can keep watching and go away and have a little break like I do. But hello, Douglas Barder's Legs. That's a good name. Al Shimer, hello, and Clopite. Clopite said you'd love to chat, Ben, but you're on the beach in Alicante enjoying the San Miguel. Still lots of people here. Jessica P. Well, you go blimey! I tell you what, mate. If Jezza's ever PM, you should stay there. I'll tell you. You're turkey voting for Christmas, mate. Simon Jandrol, hello. I could not agree more. I ain't watching the cap. Just going to wait for the result. I think we all know the way it's going to go. Westernmonds are Sith Lords, and we're the Jedi. Yes, that's a good analogy. Hello, David Schultz, all the way from Maine. Thanks for tuning in. And Martin Pratt, hello. Martin. I'm not bad, thank you. He says, hope you're well. But I'm feeling a little bit downhearted because I've been watching Parliament. I know the camera's flashing again. I know. I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps because I'm watching Parliament. It's looking awful. It's looking really terrible. Okay, there are 20 people watching now. So what I'll do is I'll give it another minute for everyone to turn up, and then I'll start the lead off. That's 5 minutes we've been on the air. I'm not. It's not going to be a downhearted live stream. I'm not naturally a pessimist. I am naturally an optimist. But there's times when it gets really, really bad, and you feel really down. Things seem to be going against you. Hello, Legend Real. Good evening. And I'm going to try and maintain an atmosphere of hope this particular live stream. I'm actually preparing a live show. I'm actually speaking at the Probe conference at the end of the month, 28th and 29th. So I'm speaking on the 29th, Sunday. And the title of my talk is there any hope? Yeah, it's is there any hope? And so this is kind of practice for me, because the answer is yes, but sometimes it's a bit hard to see. Hello, Mr. MT. Just give us a general election already. I'm sick to the back teeth of these traitor MPs. Mr. MP, Mr. M. I almost called you Mr. MP. What an insult. Mr. MT. You might have that. Hello, Neil Desbrandam and Mrs. B. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining us. 24 people watching now. All right, guys. I've got a message from somebody. All right. Yeah, I've got to reply to this message just quickly. It's about tomorrow night. Talk. All right, tomorrow at 7, or it'll have to be after that, actually, because we're pre-recording it. I'm on Caroline Stevens' show, Seeking the Truth, and I will be kind of I'll be disagreeing with her a bit probably, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good. We'll have a lot to talk about. Martin Pratt, yeah, MP. That's right, you are. Yes. MI5 says Neptune Returns. I'm sure they're watching. If you're watching MI5, get a proper job, guys. David Schultz. Oh, David, the Clash is London calling. Yeah, you're on the right side of the pond. I'll tell you, Sargon of Akkad actually has just come back from your part of the world, and he's just done a video saying he said it was a relief to be out of it for a while. My friend Colin Woolford actually is in the States too. He's at the UFO Congress in Arizona, and I tell you what, he's going to be glad to get a break too. Hello, Edwardian lady. Edwardian lady. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining us. We got 32 people watching. Edwardian ladies here. I've got a little lead off to read, and so as always, I'll read that. Hello, Mark Hollingsworth. How are you? Welcome. I'll read the lead off, which shouldn't take long. I've not got much to go into. I've got the news open as well, so I'll keep that out. Oh God, I'll go through this sort of thing. There'll be a lot to talk about. The emergency debate is going on, and I'll go through some of that as well. But I'm going to skip some of my notes because some of it's not relevant anymore. But anyway, John Nolan, hello. A long-lost American Coast Guard boat has been found on the beach in County Clare. Maybe the aliens. Really? Oh my goodness. That's interesting. I'd like to know more. More like the Smiths, a panic on the streets of London. Yes, the Smiths. Oh, the Smiths. Oh, those were the days. Morrissey's actually really, really cool. I like Morrissey because he's a patriotic guy. He's very anti-globalist. He's very much on our side. He's very red-pilled, is Morrissey. Will Boris join the Lib Dems? Says oh, let me get onto the lead off. I'll tell you what, guys. Save your comments. I won't be able to answer all your comments while I'm reading the lead off when I go back, because otherwise they just pile up and I never get the chance. People who put new things in don't get the chance to actually be addressed. But if you want to talk to each other, that's absolutely fine. But what I'll do at the end of my comments, I'll simply go back. I'll get rid of the trolls. Although we didn't have any last time. I was quite impressed. Maybe they've given up. And then we'll begin the discussion. I'll also go through everything that's been on the BBC's news reports while I've been doing the lead off. So this won't be a long lead off because I don't want to. There's too much going on at the moment anyway. But as I said, do you remember what I said? Basically, the news. Laura Kunsberg, who's actually one of the few good reporters at the BBC, said. It seems right now, although there is some arm twisting going on behind the scenes, that the government is set to lose the vote. We are finding ourselves in the middle of a full throttle confrontation between a parliament that does not want to allow the country to leave the EU without a deal, and a prime minister who secured his place in power, promising he would always keep that as an option. Both of them cannot be the victors here, and they are both determined to win. Well, I said Boris deserved the chance, didn't I? I said that, didn't I? Well, last time when I did my live stream about him becoming prime minister, I said he deserved the chance. And goodness me, so far he has honoured his chance. He's impressed me. I mean, it's really depressing. It's what's upset me about this, and I've only just started realizing what's upsetting me. And maybe this is temporary. I don't know. This is like I don't know if this is good or bad. I can't really follow what's going on exactly. But at the moment, it looks really bad for Boris. He's standing there, and these globalist, treacherous scum are just lambasting him, and they're betraying their oaths of office. They're betraying the people they represent, and they're attacking this guy, this brave and decent man who is actually. It's weird. It's just occurred to me. Actually, it occurred to me just before I came on air. He's the only person who has been prime minister that I can say I admire. Certainly within my lifetime, and even looking through history at prime ministers of the past, he's the only one I can see as prime minister who I actually feel any modicum of respect and admiration for. And he's only been prime minister for like a couple of months, and he is being he's a strong and brave individual who is willing to take a lot of risks to honor his commitments. And he's being, at the moment, it looks like he's been submerged. He's being submerged in excrement and disgustingness, like the sewer man in Morgoth's Review. He does that Hate Reading the Guardian series where the intro is this sewer man dressed in a diving suit climbing down into this blocked drain full of shit. And that's a good metaphor for reading the Guardian. But that's how I feel that's like what he is in. Anyway, there's been a massive amount that's happened. A summary: government loses the Commons majority. Tory rebels are to join Labour to vote with the bill designed to stop the UK leaving the EU on the 31st of October without a deal. If they succeed, Prime Minister could call a snap general election. Former Chancellor Philip Hammond says he believes the Tory rebels will back the bill. This is against threats of deselection, in other words, being sacked. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn says he's ready to go for the polls, but some of his party are suggesting otherwise, quite wisely, as I said in the last live stream. Mr. Johnson has insisted that the UK must leave the EU on the 31st of October with or without a deal, and so far, so good. He's sticking to that. Whatever happens, he's not betraying that. I said he deserved a chance. I know Caroline Stevens is going to disagree with me tomorrow night, but he deserves a chance, and so far he's honouring that. Commons Speaker John Bercow, the poisoned dwarf. Oh, God, what a horrible little man. You know, Gimli would get his axe and he'd cut him in two, wouldn't he? He grants an emergency debate, which has just begun, and is on the air. As I'm on the air, that's going on, and I'm sure you prefer to watch me than listen to these idiots talking. Discuss whether a cross-party alliance can take control of the agenda. Well, that's bloody happening, isn't it? It's pretty obvious that's happening. It started with the Radnor by-election. It is the first bid to stop the UK leaving the EU on the 31st of October without a deal. If successful, it will bring forward the bill tomorrow that would force Boris Johnson to delay Brexit unless MPs back a new deal or vote for a no-deal exit. Or what will happen is Boris will call a general election, probably, which could happen before the 31st of October. He's like I say, he knows the law, does Boris. He realizes that he has to have it's something. I'll come on to that in a minute. But what we're seeing is a repeat of what happened in April. We're seeing the exact same thing. The House is proposing legislation to stop the government because of this terrible dread of a crashing out of a no deal. Oh, the backstop. Oh, you know, it's the usual fear mongering about the Northern Ireland border, which is where they're hanging their treachery on. Funnily enough, Boris is actually heading for Dublin next week to talk to Leo Soy Boy Varadkar, Peter Sutherland lover. I don't know how that's going to go, but they're doing exactly the same thing. They're doing the very same thing. Yvette Cooper was the ringleader last time. This time it's what's his name, Gork, and a couple of other horrible. It's a group of horrible little turds. And of course, we've had Philip Lee MP defecting to the Liberal Democrats. He symbolically crossed the aisle, just like Oswald Mosley did, and joined the other side. But this is not actually going to affect the vote as such, because Philip Lee's obviously a Tory rebel anyway, or he was a Tory rebel anyway. But it's symbolic, because at the very crucial moment, it leaves the government without a working majority in the Commons. And I think this is a setup. I mean, he did an interview where he said, "Oh, it was a spur of the moment decision after I listened to Jacob Rees-Mogg on the radio this morning." You know, he says, but no, it was staged. It was staged and it was timed. What's interesting is Jenny Rigg, who's the chair of the Liberal Democrats LGBT group, said, she tweeted that she had sent an email resigning from the party, or resigning from her position, after the party accepted Philip Lee, because she's concerned for his support for banning HIV-positive immigrants. She accuses him of being a homophobe, a xenophobe, and someone who thinks people should be barred from the country if they're ill. So so the Lib Dems, some of the Lib Dems are crashing out because of this, but no one cares anymore. Party politics is over. We are all single-issue voters, and someone accused the Tories the other day of becoming the Brexit party. Well, they are. And Labour and Lib Dems are becoming the anti-Brexit party. We're all single-issue voters. That's what Brexit has done. Anyway, there's a flow chart here which explains what the options are. The options are: MPs bring in legislation to stop a no-deal Brexit. MPs call a no-confidence motion. Government seeks to call a snap general election, where MPs do nothing and let the government try to negotiate a new deal. Well, obviously, the last one's not being done. Also, it seems that the no-confidence motion is not being tried. What they're doing is they're repeating the same trick they did in April to bring a legislation to stop a no-deal Brexit, and at the moment, it looks like they're going to succeed. The default position is still we leave on the 31st of October, and Boris has committed to that, unlike Theresa May. He has stated a commitment to it. However, the decision's been taken out of his hands again. So I don't know what's happened now. This is their first time back in Commons since the prorogation, and they're making the most of it. They're going to to give control. So the MPs are trying to pass a new law. That's already been decided. MPs are passing a new law to block a no-deal Brexit. If it passes, the government can ignore it or comply. Now, if the government ignores it, there'll be a legal challenge. I don't think they can get away with that. And Boris has already said he's not going to ignore the decision of the House of Commons. Although, I mean, I don't know if there is something you could do, maybe go to the House of Lords or something. I'm not sure, because according to Robin Tilbrook, they need a complete act of Parliament to actually to have a delay, even request a delay from the EU. Then we go through the same rigmarole we did before. If this passes, which it looks like it's going to, and the government does comply, then it goes to the Council of Nations. If the EU agrees, there's a bloody delay again, which will be God knows how long. I mean, the legislation doesn't have to. The legislation, when it comes to a delay, gives the EU Commission the complete control. Now, last time I said I hoped that the EU, the Council of Nations, would refuse, and they didn't. They did say specifically in April this would be the only delay they would grant. They told Theresa May to use the time wisely between April 29th and October the 30th. Of course, she didn't, and Boris came in late, and he's trying to use the time wisely, and the MPs aren't letting him. My hope is that the Council of Nations will refuse, because, as I said before, I think the EU have a very different idea of what needs to be done than the British do. I mean, there's a split within the deep state over how to handle this, because the EU, of course, is in terrible trouble on its own. I mean, this is the good news. I mean, this whole issue, even though it doesn't feel like it right now, is superfluous regarding the bigger picture. And I'll say more about that later, but I did touch on it in the last live stream about how there's no good way out for them and there's no bad way out for us. If the Council of Nations refuses, which I hope they will, there'll either be a Brexit with a deal or without a deal on Halloween. Alternatively, there could be a vote of no confidence in the government, which probably wouldn't work. I don't know. Anyway, there's a flow chart about the government with about the vote no confidence. I'll cover that probably. I'm probably going to do another live stream tomorrow, so I'll cover that then. It's going to be a lot. They'll be doing a lot anyway. I'll skip all that. Michael Gove seems to be, funny enough, he's actually making the right noises at the moment. He's not going to commit to abide by law to block no deal, which means it could be they have a legal ace up their sleeve to scupper the MPs this evening if the vote goes against the government. There's several other people who really are just really horrible. Keir Starmer. Who's Keir Starmer is Owen Jones's cat is named after him. Was it Keir, the other Keir, the one who founded the Labour Party? But anyway, there's other people who've been pretty horrible. Oh dear. Anyway, there's the Parliament itself has actually released. This is a Parliamentary House of Commons news press release. Conservative MP Mr. Richard Drax MP says Drax is the name of a James Bond bad guy as well. So that's interesting. The last thing we hear about in this place is the democratic will of the 17.4 million who voted to leave the EU. Yes, good. Well, if he's a James Bond bad guy, then I'm on his side. The proposed bill is nothing more than a revocation of Article 50. Yes, exactly. It's all about stopping Brexit. They don't want to delay it. They don't want a no-deal Brexit. They want no Brexit at all. Mr. Drax says the bill would bind the Prime Minister's hands to the point where we'd never leave the EU. Well, he's absolutely right. That's the whole point. That's what they want to do. Now, Kate Hoey, the Labour Brexiteer, now is one of about the only person in the bloody Labour benches I actually respect, said, there are many MPs who seem to want to stop the outcome of the 2016 Brexit referendum being implemented. Whose side is he on? In reply, Johnson says to the Commons he's promised many times to honour the result. I hope we now do get it, she adds. Well, well done her. I hope she crosses the aisle too. So the Prime Minister has been... the MPs are grilling the Prime Minister. He lost his majority as the Tory MP crossed the floor to join the Liberal Democrats. Philip Lee said the Conservatives have become infected with populism and English nationalism. What? Well, they're supposed to represent the people. What's nationalism, patriotism? Their words with slightly different meanings, but that's the whole point. There is populism. Populism is a derogatory word, but it simply means people who have visions that the political class don't like, and they're asserting them to the point where their voice is so powerful that it can't be ignored. So the Prime Minister says he's going to Dublin. He's saying that the opposition were demanding he surrender control over the negotiations with the EU. Exactly. That's what they want him to do. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get him to surrender control over the whole process through these disgusting globalist Europhile gimps. I mean, his suspension of Parliament could be justified simply by saying Parliament has been taken over by people who are collaborating with a foreign occupier. He didn't quite go that far, but he could have done. Oh, the two-faced bastard Jeremy Corbyn demanded an assurance that Mr. Johnson would abide by legislation to block an undemocratic no-deal Brexit. An undemocratic no-deal Brexit. How's that undemocratic? It's what we voted for in the 2016 referendum. As Calamity was saying on his live stream earlier, where I met Pat Riot, Mr. Corbyn says he believes we have MPs to pass legislation to prevent a no-deal. Right, Scottish independence implications. I'll cover that in the future. But basically, there's implications for Scottish independence. Should there be a Brexit? Should there be any kind of Brexit? And I'll cover that in the future because it's a big, complicated subject. But the Scotland now has a justifiable claim for a second independence referendum now, I think, because of this. So I'll go for your comments on the notice. John Nolan said, Hi Ben, have you watched UFO Highway? The UFO Highway TV show? It's good. Checking out on YouTube. No, I haven't, John, but I will do. Israel Diego Rivera Eugenio Lucentius Genius says Boris Johnson is a puppet of the Rothschilds. Yes, I know. It's Diego Rivera. No doubt, he puts on a furry suit, pretends to be the British Bigfoot as well. I'm sure he does. Neptune in turn says, fifth viewer, this video is embarrassing and difficult to watch. I thought that was you in skies, you know. Hugo in 11th viewer. Hello, Hugo. Oh, yes. Welcome. I hope you're in. I'll go and check if you're in chat in a minute. 69 Phuket. Hello, Phuket. Says, damn right. Men in suits dancing around a man in gowns and a wig. Yeah. Sounds a bit like a drag act, doesn't it? Token women in heels. Yeah, it's a real East End musical. Is this modern high-tech Japan? Yeah. Lixino in Phuket replies to Hugo Rune at Michelangelo in the Louvre. All right. Anyway, thanks for those comments, guys. Let's see what's happening in the news. Let's go back down. All right. Anyway, Tory MPs, we must be prepared to walk away. Oh, no, I'll go back a bit for emergency debate begins. Sir Oliver Letwin says the Prime Minister is much in the position of someone standing on one side of the canyon, shouting to people on the other side of the canyon that if they do not do as he wishes, he will throw himself into the abyss. That's what you like, Sir Oliver. Tory MP, we must be prepared to walk away. Conservative John Barron interrupts Sir Oliver's speech to say, in any negotiations, the chances of a bad deal materially increase if you signal to the other side you're not prepared to walk away. Yeah. But the thing is, like, the deal, I mean, Boris is showing, he's the only Prime Minister who's shown real gumption to the EU. He's the only one. It's very clear he does not have the same agenda as the rest of the government. It's not, I mean, I'm sure some people will say, oh, it's all a sham, he's a shill, as Diego Rivera. He's working for the Rothschilds, but come off it, Diego Rivera. You can see very clearly that, this is, if this is a sham, then, what wouldn't be? As I said earlier, in the post-Illuminati world, will you be poking your face round corners and peeping out and going, God, aren't they crafty? No, this is serious. This is a fundamental rupture in the New World Order agenda that goes right down to the foundations. I've explained that before many times. So now, a powerful moment of cross-party cooperation. Stella Creasy, more like, says, powerful moment as 15 Tory MPs stood with us to secure emergency debate. Yes, that's right, they did. On a no-deal Brexit just now, standing up not just against the overbearing PM, but overbearing PM. The only PM who's actually trying to uphold lawful government in this country, but also for democracy to be given a chance to function. It's like Orwell in Newspeak. It's doublethink. They're saying the opposite of what they mean. I may not agree with their party, but I admire their principles. Hashtag Brexit chaos. So Oliver Letwin then comes back and says, we are between a rock and a hard place. In this instance, the hard place is better than the rock. What the fuck does that mean? Labour prepares for clever plan for election dilemma. More like one of Baldrick's cunning plans. Nick Robinson says, Labour hopeful this is a BBC reporter, hopeful they found a legally watertight way to block a no-deal Brexit without having to oppose an immediate election of the Tories trying to call one. Clever, if proved right, would hold rival factions together. Oh, God. Jeremy Corbyn says, our last opportunity to act. He describes the government's course as destructive and warns MPs that this is our last opportunity to act. There is no more time. Oh, bloody shit. Rebel MPs have been subject to bullying, said Corbyn. Well, they've been, if you're in politics, if you're in government, you have certain, especially if you're like if you're in Parliament, if you're in a position where, especially if you're a senior minister, you have to support the government. I mean, look what happened. Who was it the other day? The Lib Dems sacked someone, didn't they? No, it was Yeah, was it someone? I think it was Boris actually who sacked someone who voted for the Lib Dems, and he's like a Tory, voted for the Lib Dems. Of course, he got sacked because he's a member of one political party, he votes for another one. That's a conflict of interest. Oh, Corbyn then says, it's not the time to play Russian roulette with our economy. We're crashing out. Oh. Mr. Corbyn now turns, this is at 7:15, so it's only 15 minutes to go. Mr. Corbyn now turns to what he believes is the impact of a no-deal Brexit. No deal will decimate our manufacturing industry. No deal will destroy our agricultural sector. It will mean food shortages. It'll bring chaos to our ports and our port networks. The dead will rise from the graves, and Godzilla will stomp through the countryside, eating up the trees like celery sticks. Now is not the time to play Russian roulette with our economy. It's not even original, is it? They've been saying this since 2016. The bill provides breathing space, says Mr. Corbyn. The bill is about preventing a damaging no deal, which this government has no mandate for. Yes, it does have a mandate for it. It's called the 2016 referendum. The WTO option was discussed in the plans for that. And they're not telling you that, are they? Because they take away their Project Fear big boogeyman of the no deal. The crashing out. The bill is designed to provide vital breathing space to find an alternative way through this Brexit mess. The thing is, they're just slamming all the doors they can, except the one which says cancel Brexit, as I said back in April on my videos then. Jacob Rees-Mogg begins his speech. Thank goodness. He reiterates the PM's earlier statement that the government is committed to leaving. Okay, what else you got to say? Here we go. The bill is constitutionally irregular. Rees-Mogg said the bill is constitutionally irregular. He says MPs risk subverting Parliament's proper role in scrutinising the executive. Well, no shit, Jake. Trust old Jakey to state the obvious. We all know that, and they know that, and they don't care. That's the thing. They don't care. They know what you're saying is true, and they don't care. Mogg turns to the speakers and said, you particularly have a responsibility to uphold the norms and conventions that underpin our constitution. Well done for standing up to Burkow. And it does considerable damage when some chose to subvert rather than reinforce our constitution. Well said, Jakey. That was just oh, right. Here we go. Yeah, that was the last entry at 23 minutes past 7. So that's just less than 10 minutes ago. Anyway, let's have a look at the chat. I'm just going to de-troll, and then I'll talk to you guys. Just check for trolls. If you've left me a comment, you might have to repeat it. Ironman Spartans there, hello. Let's see. I don't think there's any trolls. I think we're safe for trolls. Okay, you might need to repeat any comments you've left for me. All right. But and also I'll say hello to anyone I haven't seen. Okay, so here we go. Okay, Pat Riot says, puppet show already scripted. Feeling Boris will call the GE before the 31st of the 10th. This will split the Brexit vote and usher in Remain coalition. Yes, that is the downside of calling a general election, Pat. It's of course if that happens, which it probably will now. It may even be announced before the end of this evening, or maybe tomorrow. I will probably do another live stream tomorrow. This again, what will happen is you will see basically the first ever single issue election with a Brexit and pro-Brexit stance. Now, what will happen is Labour, Lib Dems, SNP, Plaid Cymru, all of them will form a coalition against Brexit, just as you say, the Remain coalition, as you call it. There's only one chance Boris has. He has to join with Nigel. As Trump was the first person to say this, President Trump said, get with Nigel, Boris, get with Nigel. He said this as he was congratulating Boris on becoming Prime Minister. There's going to have to be a pro-Brexit coalition. A pro-Brexit coalition which will consist of the Tories, those are left on the side of the angels and not the devils, the Brexit Party, this new party which Nigel Farage set up, and anyone else who really will join them, which will mean there'll probably be some defections from Labour, not the Lib Dems. They're a bunch of they're the most cut party of all. But I think maybe Kate Hoey, maybe a couple of others will cross the aisle, and so that's the only chance he has. Now, if that happens, he's in with a good chance then of winning the general election and then forming a new government. You must remember that the state he's in right now is very much down to Theresa May's folly in 2017, where she's very recklessly called a general election and had to form an alliance with the DUP because she lost almost everything. Labour gained a massive amount from that. So a lot of this mess is partly caused by that. Another general election would clear out the field, and it would create new battle lines, which would be a lot more productive. You must realise that it's not over. That's what I say. I feel downhearted. We mustn't feel too downhearted. A general election, say in mid-October, would give them time then to still go ahead with the 31st of October deal. Maybe cancel the delay. And now I know that unfortunately they don't have to. There'll be a conflict there with the EU if the EU already agreed to a delay, as Calamity was saying earlier on. But we'll be in a lot stronger position. But I'll tell you what, if Boris does not form an alliance with the Brexit party, he's finished. He's finished because he can't possibly hope to beat the Remain alliance. The Brexit and Tories they'll simply split the vote of people like us. There has to be a unified front. We have to face their coalition with our coalition. It's our only chance. Mr. B, Mrs. B says, hope it's like one of Baldrick's. They're always flawed and destined to fail. That's right. Yes. That's right. I always remember, you get what was he said? You get if we haven't got a cock in the cockfight, let's get a mad killer bull and disguise it as a cock. Funny Face Productions. That's a good name. Ben is disillusioned and only reads comments which are favourable. Am I? Well, try posting an unfavourable one and see if I read it. Come on, let's put this to the test. Simon Jandrell says, Jeremy Corbyn works for Tony Blair. He doesn't, Simon, but he might as well at the moment. He might as well. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn is a lying, two-faced bastard. And as I said last time, I used to feel a modicum of reluctant respect for him, despite my political differences with him. I felt he was a sincere, if misguided, individual. Now he's shown himself to be every bit as much an opportunist as all the others. As I explained, he's done a complete volte-face over the whole Brexit issue. People forget how long he's been in politics. Before he was Labour leader, he's been a Labour Party member since sometime in 1959 or something like that. He was been his whole life, basically, since his whole adult life. He actually was against. He was very much a Eurosceptic, right through from the Common Market and Heath's referendum. He teamed up with Tony Benn and the Labour left, the people on the Labour left who are against the EU. He becomes bloody Labour leader. What's he do? He suddenly becomes a Remoaner. I mean, are we supposed to believe that? Are we supposed to believe that he's serious? How can we take him seriously when he's that willing to change his position so quickly and so radically? Okay, so where are we now? Richard Kinslett said, populists have had 4 years, all changed to push through a Newspeak progressive agenda. Yeah, what do you mean? Sorry. All changed to push through, yeah, a Newspeak progressive. Funny faces, Ben, all right. I've lost my place, sorry. Simon Jandrell, no, Tony Blair's not Jeremy Corbyn's boss, but right now he might as well be. Jeremy Corbyn is basically a fellow traveller now with the Labour centrists. I don't know why he's just joined, what they call, what's the bloody name of that breakaway group? There's only 5 of them in Parliament now. I think half of them went independent, but they're Change, what's it called? Hang on, what's it called? Change UK. What a stupid name. No Change UK, that's it, isn't it? New Change UK, officially the independent group for change. They have how many MPs do they have? Oh, what do they do? Funding leadership. Members of Parliament. Who they have? Oh, they've got 5. They got Anne Coffey, Mike Gapes. Does he? I'm sure he does. Chris Leslie, Joan Ryan, Anna Soubry. Yes, and all the others have buggered off. Chuka Namoon has gone to Lib Dems. Sarah Wallace has gone to the Tories. Heidi Allen, they've all buggered off. Well, there's 5 of them still left. But anyway, CUC, Change UK, as it's called. I don't know why Jeremy Corbyn doesn't just go and bring them back into the bloody party. Funny face, yes. Blair does despise Corbyn, but I think maybe they're both saying basically the same thing now. Did you see Blair's speech? Oh, what is that man doing? Still making speeches? He was basically saying the same thing as Corbyn. Martin Pratt says, I think Boko likes the sound of his own voice. He does, doesn't he? Order, order. If I could say order like that, I'd probably like the sound of my own voice. Neil Desbrandam says JRM is moving closer to the top job. JRM has been one of the heroes in this. He really has. I mean, leaving aside all the suspicious elements of him, and all the you're bloody bloody blah. He was a London banker, etc. What he's said and done is he's been one of the most loyal colleagues of Boris Johnson. Iman Padwima, hello. I think there would be advantages for big business if all kinds of drugs were legalized or decriminalized. It would make a monotonous dead-end temp jobs more tolerable. Yeah. Well, I'm against drug prohibition. As Bob Marley said, legalize it. Okay. Hi, Pain and Death to the New World Order. Funny Face Production says, does anyone realize the seriousness of the situation? No deal Brexit will raise food prices for poor people. Yeah, who's Funny Face Productions? The only people who have said these sort of things are people with a vested interest in manipulating public opinion away from Brexit. You realise this? Do you realise this is Project Fear? We don't know this. We've been told this. I mean, I'm not rich. I mean, you said earlier on that neither of us are millionaires. I'm not a rich man, but I'm not going to be frightened into this. I'm not going to hand over the freedom like this because I'm scared. I don't want to be one of the ones. If this country has to go down in history as one of the few that did this, unlike Ireland and India and the United States and many, many other countries that had to fight for their freedom, we've been handed it on a plate through the existing political structures. If we as a country are going to back away from that opportunity because we were too scared, I don't want to be one of the ones that were part of that movement. We do not know. The only people who say it's going to raise food prices, we're going to crash out and there'll be no medical supplies. There's people who want to frighten us into rejecting Brexit. I don't believe that's true. I really don't. I've not seen any independent, honest predictions that says that will be the case. Look, one of the last things I actually posted on Facebook was I posted this on Facebook just before I went on the air. Britain's economy set to boom and become the largest in Europe because of Brexit. This is just so. There's two sides to that story. What tends to happen is the Remoaners will read their side and the Brexiteers will read our side. I try to read both. I'm not unbiased, but I try to be objective. But please, we can't. Does it occur to you also, Funny Face Productions? Does it occur to you that what we have in Europe, or what we have in Britain now for poor people, is not exactly a paradise, is it? It's got a lot worse, actually, in the last few years. We have people who now, a lot of people I know, who are in the same income bracket as me. Some of them have part-time jobs. Some of them have had their 0 hours contracts. They've had their hours cut down. My own daughter is on a 10-hour-a-week contract. She's a manager of an institution I will not name, but it's in the retail sphere, and she's not being paid extra for her managerial position. She won't until she's done it, until she's got some kind of contract. There are people on job seekers allowance who've been forced to work for no money. There's a word for that: slavery. The cost of labor is now so low that they've effectively reintroduced slavery. The only reason slavery was abolished in the first place was not because evil white people suddenly developed a conscience. It's because the cost of labor rose to the level where it was no longer economic to have slaves. That's also what started the Industrial Revolution. It's all economics. So if the EU is such a paradise, it's such a utopian heaven for poor people, why hasn't it delivered? It's had its chance. Let's get rid of it. I'm not scared of change, funny face productions. I'm scared of things carrying on as they are. Videos from the underground. Got in late. Never mind. You haven't missed much. Martin Pratt. Oh, see, he's got to go now. All right, Martin, I'll be doing another live stream later, probably when this one's over. Sophie E said, "Hi, new to live chat, and I didn't know if it existed here, so checking out if that's okay." Hello, Sophie E. Welcome. I'm glad. I'm honoured to be the first ever live stream you've watched and commented on. Douglas Bader's legs. Oh, Douglas Bader's legs. Oh, I see. The pilot, the guy. Yes. That there's a film about it. Was it John Mills? Yeah, the pilot with no legs. The Spitfire pilot. Yeah. I remember the scene where he has to eject from the aircraft and he has to leave his legs behind. You remember? So they make him some new ones. Douglas Bader's legs says, "No deal is the right way forward now. Straight into WTO." Yes, exactly. You will be in a stronger position to negotiate any deals after and get the hell out of the EU. Military unification. Yes, indeed. I'm glad you brought up military unification because that's something Caroline Stevens is talking about, and very few people are listening to her. I mean, I am. A few other people are. But this is something that has not been addressed properly by the Leave EU movement. The fact that even in a post-Brexit world, we're not out of the woods yet. We have other work to do. There's other laws that have to be changed. There's other legislation binding us to Europe that has to be repealed, especially in the military area. And the defence sector has to be reformed once in a post-Brexit world because of the central command they're suggesting. So Caroline Stevens knows all about that. Just watch her videos about that. Especially she's done some ones with me where we've discussed this. So yeah, absolutely. This whole thing now. This whole thing, again, I addressed this to, what's his name, Funny Faces. I addressed this to him as well. All this stuff about the disaster. Now, apparently old soy boy Macron was saying the other day how he was going to block fish exports from the UK into France. And that is completely, that is just him being a big idiot with a big mouth and no balls, which is what he is. Because you can't in his position as president of France go to an entire industry, because they benefit as well as us from British exports, and say, "Sorry, mes amis, I'm going to destroy your industry so I can punish the UK." No, that's a hard sell, isn't it? I wish the French had voted for Le Pen. Hopefully they will next time. See you, Martin. Take care. Martin's had to leave. Not to worry. An outlaw in-law, welcome. There is no representative democracy. No, there's not. The good news is, right, outlaw in-law, everyone can now see that. And there's nothing can change that. No matter what happens this evening or this week or this month or this year, nothing can change that. They have blown their cover. This is what I mean when I say it cannot end well for them. This is why I'm trying not to be downhearted. And I'm trying to remain optimistic, because on a rational side, we should be optimistic. Videos from the underground says, "I'm affirming that your country will leave the EU. It's going to be a tough fight as various tricks will be played." Videos, it's been a struggle the whole way along. I mean, it's been over 3 years. We've been fighting this war half the time of half the length of World War II so far. And they tried every trick in the book, and they're still trying them. We can't not leave the EU. We have that 2016 referendum. They can't take that away from us. We're not going to stop reminding them of it. They can't. So I think that's the good side of it, and that cannot be changed. As long as we, as the people, don't let up, we don't take the pressure off, they will have to cave in eventually. But it could be a long fight. An outlaw in-law says there is no parliamentary democracy. They gave that up in 1972 with all. Yeah, they did. Funny Faces production says, "What? And be at the mercy of the United States? Give me a break. Be at the mercy of the United States? What do you mean? Britain's not at the mercy of anyone. We are and can continue to be even more a very productive partner of the United States. We can be. Remember, as this is what Trump knows. Trump has been saying this about China, and he's absolutely right. It's symbiotic. There's no dominant and junior partner in this. We're not going to be at their mercy. They need us, and we need them. I mean, in both the First World War and Second World War, what was the strategy against Britain? Trying to cut off trade, transport and trade between United States and Great Britain. The whole Battle of the Atlantic was essentially about that. Richard Kinsit, Farage is there to split the vote. Remember the referendum part? Oh yeah, Goldsmith, wasn't it? What's his name? Goldsmith. James Goldsmith, who had he was a knob, wasn't he? Oh, James Goldsmith, who died in 1997. Yeah, he the referendum party. I listened to him talking on once, and I thought he was good. But I was just a kid. I didn't know anything. I was just a kid. But Richard, if Farage is there to split the vote, then we'll soon find out, won't we? Because of what I said. Remember what I said earlier? This is going to be a test of him and a test of Boris. Douglas Barter's Legs said, we don't need to be at the mercy of anyone. Exactly. Videos from the Underground says, whatever happens, don't give up and don't stop voting. No, we must not give up. It can sometimes it can feel, things can feel worse than they actually are. And I think we may be in that position right now. Okay, an outlaw in-law says, you are literally watching a pantomime show in Parliament, knowing you lot are so gullible to absorb all their bullshit. Outlaw, we're not absorbing it. We're criticizing it. We're seeing through it. Funny face, we're not going to be at the mercy of anyone. Britons shall never, never, never shall be slaves. I keep losing my place. I wish there'd be like a tick so I could tick things off when I've got to go back and find my place again. Oh dear, this is annoying, this chat box. Richard Kinzer says, maybe, but if the Tories are the first past the post, they can join with the Brexit party. Exactly. Precisely, Neil. Outlaw in-law says, the EU is done. The deal is done by the EU Parliament. And the EU Parliament has no power. Wake the fuck up, you stupid lot. No, yeah, the deal is negotiated and can be approved or disapproved by both the EU, not the Parliament, it's the EU Commission. The EU Parliament doesn't have any power. That's where you need to wake the fuck up. By the Commission and the British Parliament. Then now what can happen is the EU does have control over the things such as negotiating delays. The European Council, that's the Council of Nations, has control over that. Fenlander69 says, let's make Britain great again. The only way to rule ourselves, not governed by idiots in Brussels. Yeah, I think so too. Make Britain great again. You can get hats which say that, actually. Funny Face Production says, they're bigger, more powerful if you hadn't noticed. No, they're not. Yes, they're powerful. They're not. It's not in the interests of the United States to push us around, to push around important trading partners. Look what they're doing with China. Look how they are actually being very, very careful not to piss off China, aren't they? An outlaw in-law, you're uttering utter nonsense, propaganda. Stephen Molyneux would say, that's not an argument. Fenlander 69, funny face. All right, Fenland's addressing funny face. Richard Kinsit says, right, I don't know, but the outcome will be more likely to be a lib-lab con. A lib-lab con meaning a Liberal Democrat Labour con, yes. Videos from the Underground. Corbyn is similar to Bernie Sanders, more free stuff that others pay for. Yeah, he is actually. He's got a lot in common with Sanders. I wrote an article about Sanders the other day. So far, Sanders has turned to... Bernie Sanders appears to be a bit like how I thought Jeremy Corbyn was like. Funnily enough, I mentioned Larry Sanders in my last video, his brother. I didn't know if he was at that event on Saturday. He probably was, actually. Douglas Barter's legs. The thing has been set up by Lib Lab coalition. Yes, it is. It's been set up to be a Lib Lab coalition. Well, it is effectively already. If there's a general election, it'll become official. It'll become formal. You'll see. Pat Wright says, "Cuck, see, change UK." Yes, it's a wonderful name, isn't it? Even though it's a lie because they don't want change. It's a great. You can call them Cuck, which is great. I just love calling them Cuck. I think it was Sargon of Akkad who first noticed that. It took him about 5 minutes after they first formed their little breakaway group. Funny face says, "I'm pro-Brexit. Not no deal. It leads to no. It will not lead to sucking the teeth on the United States." I'm not going to repeat the points I made before. I don't agree. Miles Lawler. Hello, Miles. Big news. Jacob Rees-Mogg just mentioned the Illuminati in the comments. Did he? Let's have a look. Okay, let's go back to where I was. So, two of the Tory rebels, the ringleaders of tonight's rebellion. We got David Gawke, Philip Hammond, Greg Clark, and Caroline Noakes. 4 sick bags full up there, man. Scum, a lot of them. Burko says, "I will facilitate the House of Commons, do or die." So good. Jacob Rees-Mogg says it would be wrong to question your impartiality, but like the umpires Edgbaston, who saw 8 of their decisions overturned, accepting impartiality is not the same as accepting infallibility. Yes, well done, Jakey. That's a great. He's got real way with words, definitely. And he says that the Speaker was wrong to allow the emergency debate. John Burkow then responds, he simply wants to seek to facilitate the House of Commons, and I'll do that to the best of my ability. You do or die. Which is repeating what Boris said about leaving on the 31st. An opportunity of Corbyn, says Nick Robinson long ago. Jeremy Corbyn faced a crisis trapped between the Remainers and Leavers and was shunned by the other opposition parties. Now he's able to stand up for democracy. Work with a cross. You can see the tongue in cheek, can't you? The crossed fingers. Work with a cross-party allowance and appear statesmanlike. Is that what people mean by Number 10's new strategic genius? That's a great tweet. Because you can. That's sarcastic. Can you sense the sarcasm in that? I'm going to read that again. Not long ago, Jeremy Corbyn faced a crisis trapped between Remainers and Leavers and was shunned by other opposition parties. Now he's able to stand up for democracy, work with a cross-party alliance, and appear statesmanlike. Is that what people mean by Number 10's new strategic genius? He's basically saying the same thing I am. He's saying that Jeremy Corbyn has done a deal with the devil. He's become an opportunist. Well done. Right, this is from the House of Commons. This is a House of Commons press release. So Oliver Letwin rises to say that MPs should have the opportunity to say whether they support a no deal. He says that overwhelmingly matters more than the price of parliamentary procedures. I don't know. There was a stunning arrogance to that view. Replies Mr. Rees-Mogg. He says parliamentary rules are there for the protection of the people from power grabs. Yes. Let the guessing game commence. Laura Kunzberg says, we now enter the part of the big vote where there will be thousands of tweets guessing the size of possible victory or defeat. A rebel group is pretty confident the government expected to lose, but no one knows yet. I'm still twisting things. Results around 10 p.m. depending on the debate, so that's 2 hours away. Could the government block the royal assent to the bill? Probably not. I think Boris has already said he won't. I don't know if the Queen can refuse royal assent, but the monarch has not done so since 1707, which he did in Australia in 1974, as I said in the last live stream. But unfortunately, like I said, they probably got their own lawyers on it. These people, these rebels. The bill, and Rees-Mogg says the bill is a deliberate attempt to sow the seeds for a second referendum or stop us leaving at all. It's about denying Brexit. Trust Jacob Rees-Mogg to tell you how it is. He's the only one telling you how it is. It's him and Boris, basically. And there's a little video which I'm not going to play right now. Where was I? Okay. I'll go back to the top. Okay. Miles Lawler, they're not. What you said about JRM mentioning the Illuminati in the Commons, I'll have to watch the recording, I think, because if you can point out, like, get a video and point out to me where it is, I'd be very grateful, because obviously it's not been mentioned on the news reports, and I'm not going to watch a video while I'm doing a live stream myself. But thanks for the information, Miles. Ian Lee says, haha, EU will look after UK citizens. Yeah. Finlander 69. Instead, we Zucker Brussels balls. Is that something to do with Mark Zuckerberg, the horrible man who runs Twitter? Okay. Eamon Padima. The ideal thing would be if we had Brexit and ended up the legislation that gives a special privilege in the cities of London. City of London, yes. I could do an entire program on that. 60 people watching. That's really great. Funny Face says, don't really. Can you be more specific? I could look up some of the things I've seen before about conversations between Trump and Boris. I think the Trump administration wants to be closer to Britain on equal terms, from what I can see. I mean, I can't be more specific than that, really. But I'm sure this subject will come up again. Mr. B, I hope someone records JRM's, Mrs. B, I hope someone records JRM speeches, because I want to watch them when I finish this. I want to bloody watch them. I'll go off and have some dinner. I'll watch them while I'm having that, then I'll come back on the air. Neil says, JRM has repeatedly explained how prices for food, clothing and footwear, three main items for poor, will likely decrease for the benefit of Brexit. Neil, from what I've seen, look, as I said before, what's the EU done for poor people? What's being in the EU done for poor people? Where's the heaven on earth where we're promised, if it's such a wonderful thing? I don't think we've got anything to lose from Brexit. I don't think anyone, especially poor people, and that includes me, has anything to lose by taking the chance on Brexit. We've got nothing to lose at all. What we really have to lose, I'll tell you what we have to lose, is staying in and nothing changes. That's what's going to. That's because I can't go on like it is. Video Stream Underground. The EU made Ireland vote on the Lisbon Treaty until they had the right answer. Exactly. Yes, they do. They're nasty. They're playing this dirty trick, and it was. And the thing is, they're trying to do the same thing again if they have a second referendum. But the difference is this time, videos, is they won't get away with it because it's just everyone will see it. Jam Noise 72, hello, soul sister. Thank you for joining us. It's really good to hear from you again. I've been meaning to write to you. I hope you're all right. I know you're having a tough time, and I'm thinking of you. All right. Funny Face Productions. You're so happy prices rise. I don't want prices to rise, but like I said, we don't know. You prove to us that's going to happen. Have you got a crystal ball? Can you see into the future? Have nothing to do with immigration or culture. It will affect the economy only, Ben. I think it affects everything. I mean, I believe that it seems to like the EU's affected every aspect of British society in some way or another. Indeed, of all the nations within the empire, it's affected the whole world beyond as well. E-Man says, if Brexit happens, then any economic disturbances that resulted could be the result of pro-Remain bodies like the IMF or World Bank deliberately bringing them about. It will be hard to tell anyway. E-Man, you're talking about a punishment beating. That is something, yes, we've got to expect and be ready to fight back against. But if they do it, I think if we have the right mindset, and as I said, the Brexit situation has been enormously politically educating for the people of Europe and beyond. They won't be able to do it as quietly and as nastily as they used to, like they did in Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Mrs. B, the EU hopes the EU will collapse. It will collapse, Mrs. B. That's the good news. It's on its last legs anyway. This is why I think the EU has this fallback position where they basically want us out. They want us out, and they're going to they're going to like try and save the rest of it. Funny Face Production says, I'm poor also. This is an upper middle class game. I agree the isn't perfect. It's a game it's not a game, and it's for everyone, regardless of your class backgrounds. Eamon Padima says, Catherine Austin Fitz said something about how ID chips would make slavery more profitable than before, and she linked it to mass immigration. Yeah, of course. They'll have a single population over the entire world, which can be moved anywhere at any time, who will all be on an electronic database. And that's just the start for the population reduction, the cull, and then the transhumanism. Neil says, leaving the EU will free us up to trade better on the world market. I've read lots of articles of many economists who are very optimistic about Brexit. Very optimistic indeed. I've read the Project Fear people too, so I'm trying to get a balanced view of things. Firechild UK, hello, that's a good name. JRM is making big profits, currently speculating, shorting the pound on a no-deal Brexit for his island-based SC holdings, dodging UK tax on the profits. Corrupt as fuck. I don't think he's breaking any laws there, is he? He's a stock market trader. I mean, you've got to realise that. I mean, this is not all he's doing there, as far as I can see, is a slightly more elaborate and probably larger stake gamble than you or me going to William Hill or Ladbrokes and putting some money down on the outcome of the vote. David Schultz says, US unleashes military to fight fake news and disinformation. What's so laughable is that the biggest prevalence of fake news, it's more fox guarding the chicken coop. It depends on what part of the military you're talking about and on whose side they are. I mean, that's a big subject, but I've mentioned that on my live streams about Trump and the QAnon live stream I did. Goonlove, hello. The whole thing is a piss take, yeah. Douglas Bader's leg. Kenneth Moore, all right, he was in that film. Yeah, it's a good movie. Judging by your name, you're a fan of it as well. And it is a really good film. An amazing story, amazing true story. Mrs. B said, I despise what the EU are doing in Italy. Yeah, trying to squeeze Salvini out of power. They're doing it to all nations. I think it'll backfire. He's too popular. The good news is the equivalent of Brexit is happening everywhere now. This is why they're in such enormous trouble. The EU agenda is in terrible trouble. And that's good because the EU agenda is part of the New World Order agenda. As I said in the previous live stream, they're going for the two-stage solution. 2 stages. That is the Stalinist model, where you have continental superstates that are merged into one world government. If the continental superstates can't be formed properly, then you have a bit of trouble getting the world government, don't you? Goonlove says 17.4 million people out. The cunts aren't listening to the people. And exactly. Keep reminding of that because that's true. Well, as you remember, if you watched my Brexit protest video, there are people with T-shirts simply with the ballot slip on there from the referendum on the T-shirts. I'll tell you what, something tells me I'm going to be in London on Saturday. I'll tell you, I really will. Because the French love a bit of yellow haddock. They do, Richard. And what are you going to tell them? They can't have that because your git of a president he wants to punish England. No. What's the industry going to say to that? There'll probably be a court case. Lots of people will end up voting for Le Pen next time, which is not long now, is it? It's just 1 year away. Yeah, keep the pressure on, Mrs. B. Funny Face Production says, Corbyn is a joke. Well, finally we agree on something. Boris is overly optimistic. I don't think overly so. I think he's a rational optimist. Blair is, well, the fact is a no... All right. I'm not going to repeat you. I've answered the point about that, but you're right about Corbyn. Boris is doing what he can, I think. E-Man says, James Goldsmith warned about the consequences for America if they shipped their industry to China. Yeah, you know, that's something he was right about. And it's not just America, it's the whole world. I mean, this part of globalization is basically taking industry from the West to the Far East. This is what's happened over the last 30 years or so. I Macy, hello. It's a crock of shit, not worth considering. Depending on what you mean, I mean, there's an awful lot of things that I agree with you on that. Neptune Returns says Blair is a war criminal. Yes, he is. Still waiting for him to end up in jail. I Macy says, waiting for David Miliband as the next Tony Blair after Corbyn. You know, Miliband will probably what will happen is Miliband will probably stick with Corbyn for the next general election, which will probably be, as I said, within the next couple of months, either just before Brexit or maybe sometime after. And then there'll probably be some kind of, depending on what happens, there'll probably be some kind of a new Labour. There'll probably be a Labour split, perhaps possibly like the Gang of Four in the 1980s, or there may be that he'll join CUC UK, things like that. Sherios Akbar says Islam 2020. Is that a party? Is Islam a party? Macy, the Fabian Society. Yes. The Fabian Society scumbags. That's exactly. Of course, Miliband is chairman of the Fabian Society. Previous chairman, Tony Blair, Ramsay MacDonald, and another Labour Prime Minister. Oh, all of them. They're all. It's a very It's the most powerful organisation in the world. Most people have never heard of. It's basically a lot of what's known as cultural Marxism comes from the Fabian Society. Funny Face Productions. World markets will be tougher to negotiate than the EU. Mark my words. Really? Well, do you want to look at the article from the Telegraph about the economy booming? It suits everyone to set up bilateral trade deals. Do you understand that if the Transatlantic Trade Investment Partnership had come in, we would be, without Brexit, we'll be in that, which means there'll be no negotiation because it will be controlled, it will be regulated. At least if these negotiations are tougher, at least they'll be fairer because they'll be bilateral. Hugo Rune, hello Hugo. Thanks for joining us. Never voted, never will. Look how bad we are right now because of voting. So, well, it's it's, if you look at it like I wanted to vote, and then in a way, I agree, Hugo, because we voted in a referendum in 2016. What's happened? Look what's happened. We're more than 3 years down the line, and the government are basically doing everything they can not to honour our votes. What's happening in the news anyway? Rees-Mogg is still there. Nice one. He's still on. He's still going. I'll watch his talk on a video at some point, possibly after I've done this live stream before the next one. Anyway, Douglas Bader's legs. Leaving the EU dictatorship would only be stage one. Once out, we need to reform the whole system of governance. No more corporate lobbying, no more foreign power interference. Yes, it's true, Douglas. The Brexit, I've always made this very clear. I made it even in my last Brexit video back in April. Brexit is a victory. It's a battle won, but it's not the war won. We must not stop. It's just, in a sense, it's almost like the starting gun of a bigger struggle. As was it J.R. Tolkien said, the battle for Helm's Deep is over. The battle of Middle Earth is about to begin. So yeah, I think you're right. Macy said, I wonder what they're discussing in the Freemasonic lodges tonight. Yes. Funny Face Production. So we're the same as China. Okay. No, we're not the same as China. We have a smaller economy. We're not an industrial power like China, but we're still a useful. We're still industrial. We could even perhaps rebuild our industry or increase our industry, and we can be consumers. If the economy booms, we consume more. At China, we're not like China. No, but China will obviously want to sell stuff to us, which is what they do now. Why would they be nasty to people who are buying their stuff? Douglas Bard's legs. The job of MPs should be a vocation, not a career. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about it is the more a politician gets paid, the more they seem to be they seem to drop their damn principles, don't they? We've seen this, haven't we, Douglas? We've seen it with a lot of people. What's his name? Blair's Home Secretary, the blind guy. He was Mayor of Sheffield, wasn't he? What's the name of the blind guy who was Blair's Home Secretary? I don't know. I just got to look. I hate it when I can't remember names. Oh, it'll come to me in a minute. Blunkett, David Blunkett. David Blunkett, famous for being a blind MP. He in 1983 he led a rebellion against the government, which was not unlike the militant rebellion in Liverpool. And he was mayor of Sheffield at the time. Come forward a couple of decades, he's Blair's Home Secretary. He's one of the most authoritarian Home Secretaries we've ever had. The ID card scheme, all that shit. You look at these people, Douglas, and it's almost like someone gets inside their minds and poisons them. Crafty Nihilist, hello. Mark and Liz, two people in one, hello. Diego Rivera, Eugenio Licentious Genius, says Boris is not a puppet of the Rothschilds. Oh, sorry. Boris is a puppet of the Rothschilds. Goodness me, Diego. You've never said that before. I had no idea. Richard Kinsit, the upside of this will be greater awareness of how disloyal, self-serving, self-righteous scumbags ultimately rise to the top. Yes, Richard. No matter what happens, there's going to be a very steep learning curve of political education for the population as a result of this. No matter what happens. As I said in the last live stream, the very worst thing that could have happened for us would be if they'd simply shrugged their shoulders, triggered Article 50, and let us have Brexit by June 2018. And they didn't do it. They dug their heels in. And in doing so, their disguises slipped off. Their cards fell to the table. That's the good news. All right. Diego Rivera, Boris is related to the Queen, is he? How can it be against the New World Order? Maybe he's like Credo Mutwa said, about the Mai Zarantwari Samahongo, the Queen, who was on the side of humans and not the Chitahuri. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be suspicious of Boris because of his background. If you remember my live stream about Boris, there's lots of reasons to be suspicious because of his background. It's very different from Trump's. But as I said, he deserved a chance. Diego, yes, he's related to the Queen, so how can he be against the New World Order? Well, know a man by his actions, not by his bloodline. If he proves himself to be against the New World Order, then I don't care if he's a 10-foot tall lizard who's basically a clone of the Queen. I Macy said fascist TV sock puppets that work for big business. That's the BBC for you, isn't it? Yeah. I Macy says bores the shit out of me. Yeah, me too. I want to get this over with. Actually, I really do. I want us to just have Brexit Halloween, get it over with. I Macy said we give them justification by consenting to vote. Well, I Macy, I voted in the referendum, but I didn't vote in the. This is why I boycotted the EU referendum. I boycotted the EU referendum because the EU referendum, the EU elections. I boycotted them because I don't believe we should be voting in them. I Macy, sell out scum. I Jam Noise. Richard Kinser said 37 years since Douglas Bader died. He died on the 5th of September 1982. Oh right, yes, 37 years. That's on Thursday. It's my dad's anniversary and he was in the RAF. Oh, right. Well, I hope you have along with your anniversary party, and congratulations to him and his good lady. I hope he raises a glass to his former RAF comrade. I may see World War II was a war bucked by both sides. Yes. The Bank of England made a fortune, the military-industrial complex, even more so in the Great War, 1914 to 18. It was awful. I Macy, Barder was a rich private school boy. Right. The point being, is that a crime? People say that about Boris because he's a rich boy, went to Eton, like that condemns him a priori. Does it? Does it? Because it's almost like the left kind of says the same. See, the left has this kind of original sin idea as well. The left, for example, will say that I am. Well, the left is actually the biggest snobs. I'm not a rich boy. I'm a working class man, and they will say, therefore, I'm a bigot and I'm a racist and things like that. They're like these people. Hey, I hope you're all right, Jam Noise. Hugs to you too, soul sister. I'll talk to you privately later. I hope you're doing well. Who's Mehmet Emin Yalmaz? She said, "Shut up." Who are you talking to, Mehmet? Don't just tell people to shut up. Iman Padema, I don't think having a surplus pool of labour made up of EU citizens has done much for poor people. And exactly, it hasn't. I mean, I feel sorry for these people. A lot of them are porters at my hospital. I'm actually meeting up with one of them tomorrow for a drink. He's a guy from Poland. I'm meeting up with him after work. He's a porter at my hospital. It says it makes for an employer's job market, and there's bound to be a link with 0-hour contracts. Yes, as I said, hospital portering, for example, is almost as a white British person, I'm kind of a minority there. Williamism, hello again, Williamism. I like your alien face. Mehmet Emin Yalmaz says, "Are you single? What is this, Tinder?" Mehmet is a boy's name, so you're obviously not after me yourself. Diego Rivera says, "The protagonist behind Brexit, behind the New World Order." Jacob Rothschild predicted Brexit in 2014. Predicted? Did he? Did he predict it, or did he make it happen? Look, this is. If you watch my video, I assume I did tell you, watch my video, why 2016 matters. And I explained to you quite clearly that this is the line that Richard D. Hall is taking, and he's wrong. If this is some kind of trick, if this is some kind of four-dimensional chess game, don't you think they're overplaying it a bit? Cosmic Claire, hello Claire. Sorry I'm late. No, Boris is still PM at the moment. She's just asked. Boris is still PM. You haven't missed the important bit, don't worry. And let's have a look at the news. We now have Mr. Blackford, Ian Blackford, who's moaning now about Parliament being prorogued, saying that it's the usual thing. They're just Rees-Mogg's finished. Ian Blackford is saying it's not normal for Parliament to be prorogued, accuses the government of running away from powers and responsibilities. It's all the same talking points you hear all the time. We now have Labour MP Seema Malhotra, who says that Boris Johnson is squatting in Downing Street. No, he's a leader. I mean, you didn't vote for him, but he is the Conservative leader. He's in government. He got into power the same way Theresa May did. She says, "I think he's trying to gag Parliament. I think the description of this is as a smash and grab raid on parliamentary democracy. It's extraordinary we have someone who calls themselves a prime minister with the kind of schoolboy theatre that he's displaying in Parliament today." Oh, shut up, you daft cow. It's just the usual thing. Usual thing. Where are we now? Okay. So I Macy playing piano to the he's finished. Was he going? Hold up, Alan. Was he playing? I didn't hear him. Jam Noise 72. You're playing piano, are you, I Macy? Sorry, I see. It's just I got a guy upstairs. He plays piano sometimes. I call him Liberace. Williamism, I see Farage in number 10. He will be, I think, at some point, I got a feeling he's going to be either Prime Minister or Deputy Prime Minister alongside Boris. That'd be a good thing if that happens. Yeah. So I Macy's playing Come Fly With Me. That's nice. Goon Love, hello. Richard Kinsit. Oh, I'm going back again. Oh dear. I wish this is really this. Every time it flicks to the bottom, I have to find my place again. This numpty just said water supplies will be at risk in the event of a no-deal Brexit. How many, Richard? How many people actually believe this stuff? I mean, really, I just don't know how many people actually believe this Project Fear. I really would be. It'd be very depressing to think the British people were so easily swayed by completely empty threats. Goonluff says the world has gone nuts. The world is nuts, Goonluff. Neptune returns. I have to go and walk the doggies. Okay, Neptune. Hope they're all right. Give them a pat from me. David Schultz. Say, Ben, have you ever have you ever interviewed Jordan Maxwell or the late Jim Mars? No, I'd love to have interviewed Jim Mars. Jordan Maxwell, I've not heard from him for a while, but I used to watch his stuff on YouTube. Excuse me. Well, E-Man has been playing If Only I Had a Brain. That's from the Wizard of Oz. Williams, I see Farage in, by the way, Ben. What's Farage saying? Let's have a look at his Twitter, because he'll have a lot to say about this. I do follow him. 500, there we go. Nigel Farage. That's the pinned ones. Retweeted. Record numbers watching the Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage. Okay. But Boris is 23 minutes ago. Boris has set a trap for himself. Is he really going to take away the whip from over 20 Tory rebels tonight? And he says, it's now clear we're on for the fight of our lives. He's doing speeches at the moment, it seems, in various places. Brexit. Boris, this was 1 hour ago. Boris may not be prepared for a general election, but we are ready for one. Does that mean you're not going to support him, Nigel? Does that mean you're not going to form a coalition? Because if you do that, neither of you are going to win. You're both going to lose. That's so obvious that if you go for that, I'm going to have to ask whether it's deliberate. Diego Rivera, Brexit is a part of globalization. You've contradicted yourself. No, I have not, Diego Rivera. Look, you've contradicted yourself. How can something which is so obvious, so obviously against what is part of the plan, be part of the plan? It's not like I'm not used to feints and disinformation. I study these things all the time. I see them. Do you really think, like, at some point, like I said, you have to poke around your head around the corner and realize they're not being crafty? There is a real snafu in the engine room. This, from really at a very fundamental level, something has gone wrong with the New World Order agenda. And I don't say those sort of things lightly. And Mrs. B says correctly, Brexit is the opposite of globalization. Yes. And Diego, if you haven't already, watch Why 2016 Matters. It's on my channel. Richard Kinzet. Ian Blackford says, water supplies will be in peril and fluoride imports. I'm sure that people of his ilk are very worried about the lack of fluoride in our water supplies. No doubt. I wonder how many chemtrails we're going to be seeing in the next few days. Do you think they'll suspend the operations because of this, or will they be heavier? Jam Noise 72 will. She knows a lot about that. Diego Rivera, no, because UK will be more integrated with America as well as Europe. Diego Rivera, Brexit does not mean an end with trade with Europe. Exactly. It's this idea. I mean, this idea that I think some of the Remoaners have this idea that there's going to be a wall built around the country. Like it's going to be like North Korea, the demilitarized zone, you know. Nothing goes in and nothing ever comes out again. You're trapped. Which side of the wall are you on? The truth of the matter is, trade and travel between this little island nation of ours and the continent has been going on since prehistoric times. I had to show a video to a Remainer friend of mine on Facebook. I had to show her a video of British tourists on holiday in Greece in 1966. This is an old Pathé video, a home movie. And I half expected her to say, it's photoshopped, it's faked. See, people went on holiday before the common market, before all these regulations, before the Schengen zone. You just stopped at the border and you had your passport checked. Blunkett, thanks, Macy. Yeah, it's David Blunkett. Oh, my mouth's dry, sorry. Williamism says China's public know how to protest, well organised. Do you mean Hong Kong? Yeah, that's that could end badly. I know that there's Beijing troops actually massing on the border. I mean, it could be another Tiananmen Square. I mean, yeah, I covered this on Third Rail Radio. I'm not going to go into detail, but basically what's happening in Hong Kong is that the Beijing government has overstepped the mark because it has a special. Hong Kong is a special administrative region, and the Chinese government itself is now breaking the rules that it originally it originally came down with in 1997 when the colony was basically handed from as a British overseas territory and became a Chinese city after 99 years of British rule. And maybe I'll do a video about that at some point. Mrs. B says to Iman Padima, read the surplus pool of labour. Yes, and the Blair government know they were shafting their core demographic when they opened the floodgates. They did it knowingly, villains. Yes. They said, we'll rub the right's nose in the face of immigration or multiculturalism or something. The purpose, of course, was globalist. It's designed not only to mess up the populations and break down national sovereignty and national identity, but also to create a global workforce of very low-paid people whose pay is so low, the power has dropped. So whose the cost of their labour has dropped so low, they're effectively become slaves. That's what they want for us. That's what they want us to become. Thanks, Pat. In 1954, hardcore raver. Hello. Sorry, 1994 hardcore raver. Thanks, David Blunkett. That's him. Yeah. Funny Face Productions. It will mean trade with Europe is more difficult. You're not Funny Face Productions. I've been through that with you. That's not necessarily the case. We can set up bilateral deals with the empire itself and its member states. David Schultz. It must be remembered that the first job of any conspiracy is to convince everyone that no conspiracy exists. Author unknown. Precisely, David. I mean, that's I don't know who said that, but it could have been any of us, really. That's very true. Nothing as it seems says the Mini Cooper should be built in England again. Well, nothing. It is actually. It's actually built just a couple of miles from where I am. Oh, less than that actually. At the car factory in Cowley here in Oxford. Cosmic Dead. David flunked it. Where are we now? Let's go down. I think you're talking to each other now for a bit. Ian Lee says, been gone from England for over 40 years. My granddad must be rolling over in his grave. Don't recognise these emasculated men. Oh, God, I know. Ian, it's a pretty awful... it's a pretty awful sight that when you see these people. It really does, yeah, it does. Good-looking honky says, Peter North here from America. Old porn star. London is dark now. Well, hello, Peter. Hello, Peter. How are you? Welcome. Yes, it is. It certainly is. I mean, if you ever want to come over here and do a bend over double or something or group, I don't know. I don't know if there's any market for that now. It's probably been banned. Mrs. B said, "I know what you meant." Yeah. Diego Rivera says, "I don't do that because it's a mutual benefit. I don't that because it's a mutual benefit." The thing about business is mutual benefit is always the best kind of business. This is something the libertarians get right. It is better, for example, to have a happy customer and a happy seller, and indeed have a happy employee, happy employer. That's where you get the most production. If at any point, either party in any contract starts to feel pressured or starts to feel in any way coerced, the productivity drops. The benefit from that contract drops. That's a fact. Funny Face Productions, it will make harder for our economy. Only upper middle class will prosper. No, Funny Face, it will. I don't believe it will. I don't believe it. Well, finally, if it's the upper middle class are the people mostly against Brexit. I think they're the ones who claim that it'll harm them. They seem to be the ones most opposed to it. E-Man says it would be fantastic if Brexit led to any reindustrialization tool. Yes, it would be great. I don't know if that's likely. No one seems to mention it much. As part of a more general drive against the New World Order, yes, it would, and it would be brilliant. It really would. No, Diego, you're just repeating points now. I'm not going to reindustrialization. Yeah, I knew what you meant, Funny Face. Or E-Man. Yeah, I know. I know what you. But Diego, I'm not going to answer the points you've made before. Mrs. B is saying that the sneering classes think of us as gammon. Yes, that's an awfully racist statement. Well, they do make. It's a really racist thing, and it all comes from the white people on BBC Question Time. It's because when you're under hot studio lights, white skin looks kind of red and people sweat. Yeah. Diego Rivera. I don't know if Boris is a reptile. He doesn't look like one. He doesn't act like one. He seems not to be a psychopath. But I don't know. Richard said Ken Clark is on his feet. Oh, is he? Not being inappropriate with junior journalists, just to be clear. Let's have a look. Oh, right. Here he is. Kenneth Clark has taken the floor. Conservative Ken Clark, who, as the longest continuously serving MP, holds the title of Father of the House. He says the reason for the motion is because the government is insisting on pursuing a policy which it knows Parliament is opposed to. Well, duh. He said it would be quite horrendous for Parliament to allow itself to be sidelined. He congratulates the leader of the House, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for keeping a straight face while he's making his incredible argument. Sarcasm there. Kenneth Clark is the father of the House. Oh, is he? He's the longest continuously serving MP. It says an awful lot when people like him so often seem to stick around, don't they? It's really awful. Douglas Bader's leg says, as Samuel Clemens said, if voting did anything, they wouldn't let you do it. Well, you see, they don't let us do it, do they, Douglas? They do it, and they just stop us. They say, you made the wrong choice in the referendum. We're overruling you. We're just rolling it back, pretending it never happened. That's basically what they're doing. Good-looking Honky says, I believe Brexit is a way of distracting the people for evil doings. No, it's not. There are things which distract, definitely. And there are instances where there is, but nothing this fundamental. Do check out, if you're new to my channel, check out the video, Why 2016 Matters. And Honky says under here again, I was in the studios of Brazzers. No Brexit around, lads. Brazzers? I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm so pure and innocent that such things are really beyond me, young man. I don't understand at all. Yeah. I clicked on it by accident, and my mouse kept slipping, and I couldn't close it. I only watched it for 20 minutes, purely accidental. Hey, where are we now? Oh, where we go? Up, down, up, up, up. Where are we? Where was I? Oh, bloody heck! Where are we now? Right, Paul Armstrong. Hello, Paul. It's amazing to think we get about 20 hours of Panmo material a week in, week out. It is, isn't it? I mean, just think, people often ask me, how do you do this? And I do have a full-time job. It's just I don't have a social life or any hobby. That's it. So this is my social life and hobby. Funny Space Production says, Ken Clark looks in the grave. Far of the house, apparently, but not for much longer, probably, with the way the Brexit deal is going. Well, you know what? If he fell off the perch, you wouldn't see any tears from me. Good-looking Honky says, Danny D doesn't care about Brexit. Who's Danny D, Honky? Danny D. Is that Danny Dyer? Danny D. Ima Padima. Yes, says to Funny Face, but I agree, it was an idle thought. I'm surprised that Brexiteers haven't implied that it might happen. Perhaps people have become resigned to us being a service economy. Well, we are at the moment, but we could reindustrialize at any time. We have the resources to industrialize. The coal mines weren't shut down because we ran out. There's coal loads in the ground. We could, if it was economic, we could start the coal mines again. E-Man says, the main reason I support Brexit is that I find Remainers self-righteous and irritating. Yes. God, they are. And I'm not going to go there because the thing is, these are people in my family. I think the Joe Cox was a hoax. Yeah, it was. Check out the Rich Planet video on that. I don't think the motives of pro-Brexit big players are spotless. Spotless, no. I'm sure some people involved are doing it thinking about how they can benefit personally from this. We mentioned Jacob Rees-Mogg and the shares he's bought and things like that. And as I was explaining to Diego, I think it was Diego Rivera, he's not breaking any laws. If I go and put a bet on Brexit and I win, I've profited off it. Is that bad? Playing the stock market is only slightly more elaborate and obviously with higher stakes than that is. I mean, Cosmic Claire, she always puts bets on these things, and it's positive energy. See, she's won quite a bit of money too, as well. So, Diego Rivera says Brexit means more. Not. Oh, right. I'm not going to repeat your point, but you mentioned GMO food imports. What do you mean by that? Why will Brexit mean more GMO food imports? Well, when we're not, if we leave the EU, we're not under the jurisdiction of FUMPT. We're not under. We can rebel against Codex Alimentarius. So please do explain how Brexit means more GMO food. Yes, we do. Pain and Death says we do have GMO imports. Yeah. And they don't oppose GMO though. I mean, have you seen Ian R. Crane's talk on the GMO agenda and Codex Alimentarius? Diego Rivera, 2016 was a Zionist. Oh no, it wasn't a Zionist coup. It's not line 911. No, it wasn't. Diego, I'm not gonna. Oh, okay, I will discipline myself not to reply to comments where you simply repeat points you've made before, unless you actually want to add a new point, like you did with the GMO comment. I'll answer those. If you add a new element to your point, I'll answer those. Funny Face Productions. Okay, no deal will mean renegotiating at the start. This is risky for us to have the upper. We will have the upper hand. Obviously, we will not. We will have. It will mean renegotiating, but that's something we British are very good at doing, and it will mean that other nations will be able to negotiate bilateral trade deals with us, which will not be dependent on regulation from a higher authority, which could be beneficial. We won't have to worry about bloody TTIP anymore, for a start. Cosmic Claire, fighting talk from Nigel, but he's so fixated that he won't work with Boris to achieve the goal. Well, Claire, this is a test of Nigel. If he holds this line, then we have to conclude that what Caroline Stevens was saying, that he's simply he is a stooge, he's a shill, he's just put in there to mess the whole thing up, because it's just so obvious that he needs to do this, because he knows he's going to he knows we all know he will lose if he doesn't, and Boris will lose if he doesn't. E-Man says, I don't think there's a unified cabal at the top of the power structure, nor do I think there are goodies and baddies. There are simultaneously conflict and cooperation and shared secrets. There is a unified cabal at the top. There's no way they could maintain this agenda without it. They do have, I think they're split at the moment. They're divided. I think the cabal may be breaking down. I mean, look at the way the EU and the Remainers in government over here are conflict. I mean, they're clashing over how to handle Brexit, as I explain in my Brexit portrayal video. Mrs. B, we've already got a moat. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're an island, you know, Mrs. B. It has helped. I mean, it didn't keep the Romans out, didn't keep the Normans out, but it's kept just about everybody else out. E-Man, the City of London wants Brexit, so does Israel. And does Israel? I don't know if Israel has said anything about it. That doesn't make the EU great. The City of London wants Brexit. Who in the City of London and why? This is something that Richard D. Hall didn't really explain to my satisfaction. I mean, it didn't. He presented some interesting evidence, but it seemed to be more a case of simply the business side of things, rather like JRM was doing with his shares. Cosmic Claire, US has better standards of freedom, and so if we have to choose, there's no question it has to be the US. They are our progeny anyway, whereas we've always had to fight off European empires. Well, that's true, actually. I mean, since independence, I don't think we fought a war with the United States, have we? I know the French and Spanish fought a war with them. I know Mexico did, but I don't think we have. And I think there just seemed to be there is an anti-New World Order pole in the world now. And I've talked about this in more detail previously, but this pole consists of Trump and Putin in Russia, and I'd like our country to join that pole. So you could end up with a bipolar world, pro NWO, anti NWO. Buster King says, McDonald's workers unite, you fat slob. Why don't you shove off, you skinny git? Honestly, you are so thin. You look like a matchstick. E-Man says to Eugenio, I would instantly insert an emoji. Okay. Williamism, the Chinese in Hong Kong know how to go protest. Yeah, they've been protesting continuously. I hope we can do the same. If Diego Rivera, what's this explain this GMO thing? You and Funny Face, please explain this bloody GMO thing. I don't get it. Funny Face says the elite City of London does not want Brexit as this will affect their wealth. Oh, so they don't want Brexit now. Oh, right. Okay, go back up again. Oh, here we go. Where are we? Oh, dear. Oh, we go. It's now, let's see what's happening in the news. We now have tension in Labour over election dilemma. Oh, Jessica Parker, who's somebody, I don't know, a journalist or something. Some Labour MPs reporting tension between the Whip's office and Leader's office on how to deal with snap election. Labour Leader's office keener to go for GE, whereas Whip's more cautious. Well, the thing about it is, I'll say more about this at a time because I'll do another live stream probably tomorrow. But Labour are in no position to fight a general election now. They're 20 points behind in the polls. They have very little financial resources. And like I said, they're going to need a coalition with Lib Dems. Do you remember the leader of Jo Swinson, the leader of the Lib Dems? She had a bit of a Barney with Corbyn a couple of weeks ago, didn't she? Do you remember? So are they maybe if there's a clash between them, it may not put them in a very good state for a coalition. I hope that's the case. Right. Williamism, be a spectator or a participant. Well, we're participants. We're in the best place. We couldn't be more of a participant than we are right now. We're in the right country at the right time. David Schultz. Jordan Maxwell was on the Richie Allen show, was he? Oh, right. Yeah, I like Richie Allen. He's a good guy. He's a friend of David Icke. I'll have to see that if I get time. I will. Diego Rivera, does Bigfoot also live in Europe? Yes, there are sightings from all over the continent. I don't know if Bigfoot in Europe is pro-Remain or pro-Leave, but I think the British Bigfoot are Brexiteers from start to finish. God bless their furry feet and hands. Eman Pademus says, all right, the big players in the Brexit camp are already tied to the city. All right, so now if we judge a political agenda simply by financial brokers, it's not just about, unless you're dealing with like the highest levels of economic control, then it's not really relevant. Diego Rivera, does Bigfoot use the Channel Tunnel? I doubt it somehow. Alonzo Mart, hello. Bigfoot is sleeping right now. Which one? E-Man says the EU was planning to crack down the city's offshore banking activities. Oh, that was in Rich Planet. Yeah, I mean I can't see how that's literally false, but I think Richard has misunderstood it. I talked more about this in my 2016 video. Diego Rivera, if the reptiles are so powerful, how come they can't stop Brexit? Because they're not all powerful. They're losing their power. Right, where are we now? Cosmic Claire. Ken Clark is just about the slimiest creep in the whole Commons. Yes. And that's saying a bit. Yes, comes on some... He has to face some tough competition for the slimiest creep in that house, doesn't he? He's a long-term Bilderberger. He's always been up. He was always up John Major's ass. Definitely, yeah. Diego Rivera, have you ever done a Nazi salute in your room, Ben? Well, I would say no, but I might have done one in private. But I'm not going to tell you what I do in private. David Schultz, Bigfoot is a worldwide phenomenon. Correct. Douglas Bartleslegs, Ken Clark is a Bilderberg. Yes, they're all slime. He is indeed. Now, some people have claimed that Boris Johnson is a Bilderberger. I can't find any evidence that he did attend one. I've got no evidence that he's a regular invitee or regular delegate. Jack 2, the Israelis are RF Waddington now taking part in Exercise Cobra Warrior. Oh, right. They do these exercises every so often, though. I mean, they do one like every 6 months or so. But that's interesting. Is that significant? Oh, where are we? Diego, does Russell the alien ever give you a rectal probing? I don't know, because if he does that, he wipes my memory afterwards. E-Man, it doesn't look like we're going to start mining coal again anytime soon, since we're shutting down power stations. Yeah, that's right. What they're doing is they're shutting down coal-fired power stations and then replacing them with gas-fired ones. They've just done that at Didcot. They just demolished the last of the coal chimneys. Jack Daw, has Caroline... Jack Daw was asking a comment and asking a personal question about two people that I know. The answer is, it seems as if they have fallen out, those two people. I'm not sure exactly. Jam Noise 72 says, what does your t-shirt say? I'll write, Jam Noise, it says this. It says this. I wore this the other day. 1984 was not supposed to be an instruction manual. It's the same t-shirt I wore the other day, and I'm going to wear it every live stream I do until we have Brexit certified. I think it's just perfect. It's a perfect t-shirt for this sort of subject. It's a bit stained now, but I'm going to keep wearing it. Cosmic Claire, I won 40 quid on Trump and 30 on Brexit. I'm not in Jacob's League. No, not yet, Claire. But keep fluttering the old stock market. You might get there. But well done for winning that money. Well deserved. Hello, James Tilly Matthews. Okay, go back again. I'm nearly at the end of the. I'm gonna actually. It's now. I'm just going to go to. I might sort of give it a break for a bit, just for an hour or so, and come back. Or probably a bit less than an hour. What I'll do is I'll try to be on the air when the vote comes. So anyway, I'll just go through these comments. Actually, could you stop the comments now? I'll just go through the ones I've got now, and then I'll stop the live stream for a bit. It's now 10 to 9. Diego Rivera says trade with Trump will mean more GMO foods as part of trade deal. No, what? When we're out of TTIP, we're no longer under the jurisdiction of thumped. How? It seems like it'd be the opposite. Cosmic Claire, you could be right about Nigel Benn. Yes, he knifed UKIP in the back. Well, that was one. Unfortunately, UKIP made I think what I think is a tactical error. It wasn't a moral error. It was a tactical error. But I think leaving UKIP the way he did was the wrong thing to do. Diego, right? Hugo, I mean, do you agree with Diego about GMOs? I don't know. I mean, don't answer now, but maybe on the next live stream. Otherwise, because I want to get through these comments before the end of. I don't like to leave comments unanswered. If I have to, then I'll just repeat them on the next live stream. Okay. Don't be so serious, Ben, says Diego. The aliens are coming soon. Oh, I wish they bloody would, I'll tell you. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft. Ooh, that was good, wasn't it? Give me a bottle of Lamborghini. David Schultz, GMOs is another way for dumbing down the masses. Yes, it reduces IQ, as we were talking about on the last live stream. It affects mental processes and it affects the body. It creates, like I said, genetic mutation. Jackdaw, wait for Kevin Moore documentary on Captain Mark Richards and Kerry Cassidy. Is there going to be one? Oh, right, Kevin Moore. I mean, Kevin Moore interviewed. Did he interview Joanne, his wife? I know Mark Richards' wife, Joanne, because I like Kevin Moore. He interviews some good people. He hasn't had me on yet, but Kevin, if you're watching, get me on your show. James T. Matthews, when will Simon Parkes walk into number 10 and take the reins? Well, seeing as he's still, I don't know if he's still on Whitby Council at the moment. But a Simon Parkes government, I think, would be very beneficial. I mean, if that happens, you will know the New World Order is in big trouble. It's like what Andrew Johnson says about. He said he'd know the New World Order was over if you switch on the TV to the news at 10 and you see Dr. Judy Wood being interviewed. I think Simon Parkes in number 10 and Dr. Judy Wood on the news at 10. I think that would say. I think at that point we could say, okay, our mission is accomplished. Cosmic Claire says, whatever side you take, there are some huge demonic reptilians waiting to parasite and exploit it. You just have to make the best choice and run the rapids. Not be afraid of moving because of paranoia. Quite right. Hi, Edwardian lady. Jackdaw says, watch James Goddard stop Jeremy Corbyn's car. Yeah, that was good, that was. He's been arrested. Has he been charged? I know. It was Sargon said something about him. I didn't see that bit. Neil Desbrandam, the red-eyed Bigfoot-like creature reported in Tunbridge Wells. Yes, shares some of the supernatural qualities of certain Fortean phenomena. You heard about that? It was Neil Arnold who was talking about that. Neil, I mentioned that I think in my Bigfoot video. Very interesting indeed. D-Man, I don't think Richard D. Hall misunderstood the EU's. there's a report from Sheffield University that backed up what Richard said. I have watched that and I looked at it, and from what I see, I disagree with you and Richard on that one. I don't have the details to hand, but watch my 2016 video. Diego, how can the reptilians use their power? Through enough sunlight? Do they use sun lamps? I don't know, but they're not perfect. There's changes going on in the Earth and in the universe which make their presence in our universe more difficult. David Icke talks about things like that. Eman, I photoed the towers in Didcot, from the top of the Abingdon Museum. Oh, did you? Yeah, that's the end of a landmark, that is. I mean, did you see my nuclear fusion video where I show you them? Yeah, I might have been... I'm glad I got a shot of those videos in my nuclear fusion video, actually. James T. Matthews, as a lifelong conservative and compulsive Anne Widdecombe fetishist, I resent all this anti-reptilian speak. Oh, my God. We've just triggered a reptilianist. I didn't realise I had a reptilian file in my midst. David Schultz. Ben, when's the next live stream? See you later. Take care till then. Right, I'm going to do one about David Schultz. Keep my channel on. I'm not going to put up a notice. What I'll do is I'll sort of like start one so it'll appear on my channel before it actually goes live. Just keep my channel on and keep refreshing it. I'll try to put one on maybe about quarter an hour before I start. It'll probably be about 10 p.m. UK time. It's to give you some perspective from Eastern Standard Time. It is now 4 minutes to 9 p.m. So you can translate that into your own time zone. Nothing as it seems. Kev Moore should go and crawl back under a rock. Oh, he's good. I like him. Anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to look through the news as it's on now. And just if you've got a couple of comments, just one or two, I'll answer those. And then after that, I will then stop the live stream for about an hour or so. Well, I'm just going to have some dinner, and you guys can, and then we'll do a part 2. So, democracy never disappears with a bang, says Helen Jones of Labour. She's profoundly disturbed by the contempt for parliamentary democracy the Prime Minister has shown by seeking a 5-week prorogation. Oh my goodness me! They're just repeating each other. They're repeating the same points. And Bill Cash, the Conservative Eurosceptic, says we must be allowed to govern ourselves. Yes. He says that many of those behind the bill simply do not wish to leave the EU and seek to persuade them that, yes, we'll never be able to govern ourselves if we stay in the EU. Well, knock me down with a feather. He said it. These people are saying it. Jacob Rees-Mogg is sort of lying down on the front bench now. It's been a long day. Vicky Young of BBC is making a joke because Rees-Mogg is lying down, putting his feet up. He's reclining. PM loyalists in Laws deny plan delaying tactics. Oh, the House of Lords, of course. They have to have... Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Nicholas Wyatt says, so Boris Johnson loyalists in the Lords helping out the PM. I'm told 90 amendments have been tabled to an opposition business motion for tomorrow, which is designed to find time to debate the anti-no deal bill. Well done, your lordships. They're already on the case, and the Commons bill hasn't been passed yet. Nice one. People say you should abolish the House of Lords. No. Double their number, I say. The BBC's Nicholas Watt says that ministers are trying to block rebels from an unprecedented move to set time limit on the debate. He adds that one supporter of the PM says they hope to have 2 votes on each of the 90 amendments, which would take up to 90 hours. Tory whip starts a crackdown on rebels. Maybe good-looking honky knows more about that kind of thing. Yes. The government whip, Mark Spencer, has started to call in declared Tory rebels, saying, I'm afraid I'm going to have to remove the whip from you tonight. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, guys. Okay, so I'll just go through your comments that you just made, and then I'm going to end the live stream. And then I'll keep monitoring the news, and we'll come back in about an hour. But James, yeah, here we go. Right. So David Schultz, just keep the channel open. Jam Noise, love you too, darling. Vrillon Aura's here. Hello, Vrillon. Miles Lawler says, Ben, JRM mentioned the Illuminati at 21 minutes. Go to Rees-Mogg returns to the dispatch bog to defend government Brexit plan on YouTube. Right, I'll just do that now because, okay. Let me just find thank you very much. Rees-Mogg, right. I'll put that into YouTube. Good old JRM. Oh, I can't see it. I'll find it. No worries. I'll find it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. James Lee Matthews, we have a democracy? Where the hell did that happen? It must be stopped. Call in the Archbishop. Jim returns, can you explain disclosure? She's right on cue. He says the one thing is that he thinks will keep this live stream going for another 2 hours. Well, I'll tell you what, Neptune, try it again at the end of the next one, because if things go our way by some miracle and the government's not defeated, I'll be in such a good mood I won't be able to sleep. So we'll do the whole disclosure thing until about 4 a.m. Then I'll go to sleep for about half an hour and get up for work, and I'll feel as bright as a button, hey? Right then, guys, I'm ending the live stream now. See you back here soon. Keep watching this channel because there will not be a notice, but I will be posting this. I've probably got time to post this to BitChute. So, Pat Riot, thank you very much. Much appreciated. The Real Richard Blake podcast. Hello, and E-Man. Sorry, you just come at the end, guys. So, Richard Blake, please do return to the next podcast. See you later.